Hi. Welcome to the History House. I'm Arma Saeed and you are watching the History of the 13th of October on your favorite The History House YouTube channel. Please like this video and subscribe the channel for the importance of the day, success stories as well as the failure stories around the world on daily basis. October 13th is the 286th day of the year, 287th in leap years in the Gregorian calendar. 79 days remain until the end of the year. AD 54 Roman Emperor Claudius dies from poisoning under mysterious circumstances. Claudius was Roman Emperor from AD 41 to 54. Born to Nero Claudius Drusus and Antonia Minor at Lugdunum in Roman Gaul, where his father was stationed as a military legate, he was the first Roman emperor to be born outside Italy. 1269 The present church building at Westminster Abbey is consecrated. Westminster Abbey, formerly titled the Collegiate Church of St. Peter at Westminster, is a large, mainly Gothic abbey church in the city of Westminster, London, England, just to the west of the Palace of Westminster. It is one of the United Kingdom's most notable religious buildings and the traditional place of coronation and burial site for English and, later, British monarchs. The building itself was a Benedictine monastic church until the monastery was dissolved in 1539. Between 1540 and 1556, the abbey had the status of a cathedral. Since 1560, the building is no longer an abbey or a cathedral, having instead the status of a Church of England Royal Peculiar, a church responsible directly to the sovereign. 1307 Hundreds of Knights Templar in France are arrested at dawn by King Philip the Fair, and later confess under torture to heresy. The Poor Fellow Soldiers of Christ and of the Temple of Solomon, also known as the Order of Solomon's Temple, the Knights Templar or simply the Templars, were a Catholic military order founded in 1119. The order was active until 1312 when it was perpetually suppressed by Pope Clement V by the bull Vox in Excelso. 1399 Coronation of Henry IV of England at Westminster Abbey. Henry IV was King of England from 1399 to 1413. He asserted the claim of his grandfather King Edward III, a maternal grandson of Philip IV of France, to the Kingdom of France. Henry was the first English ruler since the Norman conquest whose mother tongue was English rather than French. He was known as Henry Bolingbroke before taking the throne. His mother Blanche was the daughter of the nobleman Henry, Duke of Lancaster. 1710 Port Royal, the capital of French Acadia, falls in a siege by British forces. The Siege of Port Royal, the 5th to the 13th of October 1710, also known as the Conquest of Acadia, was a military siege conducted by British regular and provincial forces under the command of Francis Nicholson against a French Acadian garrison and the Wabanaki Confederacy under the command of Daniel Dorga de Subercase, at the Acadian capital, Port Royal. The successful British siege marked the beginning of permanent British control over the peninsular portion of Acadia, which they renamed Nova Scotia, and it was the first time the British took and held a French colonial possession. After the French surrender, the British occupied the fort in the capital with all the pomp and ceremony of having captured one of the great fortresses of Europe, and renamed it Annapolis Royal. 1792 In Washington, D.C., the cornerstone of the United States Executive Mansion, known as the White House since 1818, is laid. 1792 In Washington, D.C., the cornerstone of the United States Executive Mansion, known as the White House since 1818, is laid. 1821 The Declaration of Independence of the Mexican Empire is publicly proclaimed. The Declaration of Independence of the Mexican Empire is the document by which the Mexican Empire declared independence from the Spanish Empire. 1843 In New York City, B'nai B'rith, the oldest Jewish service organization in the world, is founded. B'nai B'rith International is a Jewish service organization. B'nai B'rith states that it is committed to the security and continuity of the Jewish people and the State of Israel and combating anti-Semitism and bigotry. 1885 The Georgia Institute of Technology is founded in Atlanta, Georgia. The Georgia Institute of Technology, commonly referred to as Georgia Tech or, in the state of Georgia, as Tech, is a public research university and institute of technology in Atlanta, Georgia. 1911 Prince Arthur, Duke of Connaught and Strathearn, becomes the first Governor-General of Canada of royal descent. Prince Arthur, Duke of Connaught and Strathearn, was the seventh child and third son of Queen Victoria and Prince Albert. He served as the Governor-General of Canada, the 10th since Canadian Confederation and the only British prince to do so. In 1910 he was appointed Grand Prior of the Order of St. John and held this position until 1939. 1923 Ankara becomes the capital of Turkey. Ankara, historically known as Ankara and Angora, also is the capital of Turkey. Located in the central part of Anatolia, the city has a population of 4.5 million in its urban center and over 5.6 million in Ankara province, making it Turkey's second largest city after Istanbul. Located in the central part of Anatolia, the city has a population of 4.5 million in its urban center and over 5.6 million in Ankara province, making it Turkey's second largest city after Istanbul. 1946 France adopts the Constitution of the Fourth Republic. A constitutional referendum was held in France on 13 October 1946. Voters were asked whether they approved of a new constitution proposed by the Constituent Assembly elected in June. Unlike the May referendum, which saw a previous constitutional proposal rejected, the new constitution was accepted by 53.2% of voters, and brought the Fourth Republic into existence. Voter turnout was 67.6%. 1972 Aeroflot Flight 217 crashes outside Moscow, killing 174. Aeroflot Flight 217 was a non-scheduled international passenger flight from Orly Airport in Paris to Sheremetyevo International Airport in Moscow, with a stopover at Shosenaya Airport, now Pulkovo Airport, in Leningrad, now St. Petersburg. On 13 October 1972, the Ilyushin Il-62 airliner operating the flight crashed on approach to Sheremetyevo, with the loss of all 164 passengers and crew of 10. The fatalities include 118 Russians, 38 Chileans, 6 Algerians, 1 East German and 1 Australian. At the time, it was the world's deadliest aviation disaster, until it was surpassed by the Kano air disaster in 1973. As of 2020, the accident remains the second deadliest one involving an Il-62, after Lot Flight 5055, and the second deadliest on Russian soil, after Aeroflot Flight 3352. 1972 Uruguayan Air Force Flight 571 crashes in the Andes Mountains. 28 survive the crash. All but 16 succumb before rescue on December 23. Uruguayan Air Force Flight 571, later known as Andes Flight Disaster and the Miracle of the Andes, was a chartered flight that originated in Montevideo, Uruguay, bound for Santiago, Chile. On October 13, 1972, while crossing the Andes, the inexperienced co-pilot of the Fairchild FH-227D who was in command mistakenly believed they had reached Curacao, Chile, despite instrument readings that indicated otherwise. The aircraft began descending too early to reach Pudahuel Airport, and struck a mountain, initially shearing off both wings and the tail section. The remaining portion of the fuselage slid down the mountain about 725 meters (2,379 feet) before striking ice and snow on a glacier. The flight was carrying 45 passengers and crew, including 19 members of the Old Christians Club rugby union team, along with their families, supporters, and friends. 1976 The first electron micrograph of an Ebola virus is taken at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention by Dr. F. A. Murphy. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention (CDC) is a national public health institute in the United States. It is a United States federal agency, under the Department of Health and Human Services, and is headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia. 1983 Ameritech Mobile Communications launches the first U.S. cellular network in Chicago. Ameritech Mobile Communications, LLC was the first company in the United States to provide cellular mobile phone service to the general public. Cell service became publicly available in Chicago on October 13, 1983. The company was a division of Ameritech which, as of January 1, 1984, was the holding company of Illinois Bell, Michigan Bell, Wisconsin Bell, Ohio Bell, and Indiana Bell, which provides landline service to the Great Lakes region. From around 1986, Cincinnati Bell held a 45% stake in the company. Originally named Ameritech Mobile Communications, it later became known as Ameritech Cellular. 2013 A stampede occurs in India during the Hindu festival Navratri, killing 115 and injuring more than 110. On 13 October 2013, during the Hindu festival of Navratri, a stampede broke out on a bridge near the Ratingar Mata temple in Desha district, Madhya Pradesh, India, killing 115 people and injuring more than 110. 2016 The Maldives announces its decision to withdraw from the Commonwealth of Nations. The Maldives, officially the Republic of Maldives, is a small island nation in South Asia, situated in the Arabian Sea of the Indian Ocean. It lies southwest of Sri Lanka and India, about 700 kilometers (430 miles) from the Asian continent's mainland. The chain of 26 atolls stretches from Iavandhipolhu Atoll in the north to Adu Atoll in the south to the equator. Comprising a territory spanning roughly 298 square kilometers (115 square miles), the Maldives is one of the world's most geographically dispersed sovereign states as well as the smallest Asian country by land area and population, with around 515,696 inhabitants. Malé is the capital and the most populated city, traditionally called the King's Island, where the ancient royal dynasties ruled, for its central location. 2019 Kenyan Brigid Kosgei sets a new world record for a woman runner with a time of 2 hours 14 minutes and 4 seconds at the 2019 Chicago Marathon. Brigid Jepchirchir Kosgei, born 20 February 1994, is a Kenyan marathon runner who won the 2018 and 2019 Chicago Marathons and the 2019 and 2020 London Marathons. She is the current marathon world record holder for women running in a mixed-sex race, with a time of 2 hours 14 minutes and 4 seconds achieved on 13 October 2019 at the Chicago Marathon. Thanks a lot for watching the History House YouTube channel. Please like this video and subscribe the channel for latest stories on daily basis.